If you enjoy the topics and videos you see here on Power of Thought, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel. It would really help to support us. The most common form of despair is not being who you are. Have you ever lost someone you loved, been heartbroken, received terrible news, or just had something happen that made you feel like your entire world was caving in on itself? Have you ever felt that type of anxiety that seems like it will never go away, like it will consume you entirely? Well, if you have, you're in good company, as 19th century Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard was consumed by the concepts of anxiety, dread, and feelings of loss. Considered by many to be the father of existentialism, Kierkegaard wrote extensively and passionately about how to cope with these very human problems. In this video, we will explore an all too relevant concept: how to move on and be happy when it feels like you have lost everything. Kierkegaard uses God in this work as a sort of external place to go to for purpose. And if this doesn't quite hit home for you, you can really think of any external source of meaning in the modern world. Political causes, fitness nuts, big business, philanthropy, anything that people turn to and dedicate their whole life to, feeling like being a part of it gives them some sense of true meaning in life. He often uses popular figures, especially religious ones, as vessels to convey his point. One of his most relatable lines of thought comes in Patience in Expectancy, an essay on Anna the prophetess, a minor figure in the Christian Bible. As Kierkegaard sets up Anna's story, it captures the central human problem of loss and reveals why moving on is so hard. She had a great passion, her relationship with her husband. His love was the source of all meaning in her life. It had decisive significance for her, as Kierkegaard puts it. But several years into their marriage, Anna's husband died. Because her love for her husband ran so deep, Anna just couldn't move on. Instead, she copes with this by turning to God. She spends her remaining days praying and fasting in the temple. While turning to religion isn't abnormal, it can have a problem if not done for the right reasons, according to Kierkegaard. And if we take a step back, we can see a great many parallels in the modern world. Religion may be a less popular answer to loss in many parts of the world, but the answers that have risen to take its place present the same problem we are about to detail. Kierkegaard insists that each of us has a true self, an inner essence that defines who we are. Anna's essence, at this point in her life, had to do with her late husband. It involves being in an intimate relationship with him. His take on how Anna should deal with the loss is, at first, rather jarring. He claims that Anna should not try to regain who she was before she met her husband, that she should not seek to relive all the good things about falling in love and building a life in this way because, as he puts it, the most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. Instead, she, and we, must turn to something entirely new and separate. To him, seeking out another love would mean that her first love was not true and was, instead, acting as a placeholder that can be replaced in due time. At first glance, this just seems wrong. Firstly, if we cannot move on from the hurt of loss and discover happiness again, are we not condemned to a life of despair? Secondly, who is to say that there is only one person out there for us? Modern life offers plenty of examples of happy lives being built again. Well, while we can certainly take up arms on some of these points, there's a bigger message here that we cannot afford to ignore. Instead of recovering an old memory and feeling, we need to grow. For life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. If we could reimagine Kierkegaard's advice for the modern individual, the best way we could put it is that he would urge you to explore what it means to be you. Not to try and go out there and find something to give you what you used to have. If you put all your eggs in the basket of a relationship, are you not setting yourself up for despair if it doesn't work out? And can we not say the same thing about a career or any other life pursuit we consider to be our one and only purpose? This happiness is the greatest hiding place for despair. In other words, our greatest grief comes from the loss of such happiness, a loss that is all but guaranteed at some point in life. Anna could have jumped from relationship to relationship, but she would have become dependent on having a person, dependent on someone else just to quell her anxiety in life. And would this not cloud her ability to make decisions for herself? If we can't even function alone, how can we ever be able to choose who best to spend our lives with? While Kierkegaard presents faith in God as a solution here, he does have a characteristic contradiction in some ways of what he says. This is because he himself struggled greatly to cope with what he saw as the dreadful realities of life, even once remarking, "What if everything in the world were a misunderstanding? What if laughter were really tears?" There's a side of him that believes we must let go of the world. Indeed, we must die to the world, as he puts it in some places. Yet, there's another side of Kierkegaard we mustn't overlook. In some texts, including Fear and Trembling, he suggests faith in God will bring hope for this life. We don't need to leave the world behind, after all. What Anna does after the death of her husband, spending her remaining days in the temple, is a mistake. And really, it's a form of despair. It's what Kierkegaard calls, in sickness unto death, the despair over necessity. He defines this kind of despair as a deterministic attitude that says nothing can be done about my situation. And like all despair, it can be cured by faith. Turning to God helps, he writes, because God is this, that everything is possible. It's a strange way to describe it, but Kierkegaard appears to be proposing that to believe in God is just to think that no matter how dire the situation, there is hope. Even though it seems absurd, even though it seems impossible according to everything we can reason out in our heads, things can be made right again. If this is correct, then Anna's faith is the wrong kind. It's the wrong way of turning to God. In his essay, Kierkegaard describes Anna as hoping for the end. She remains in the temple because she's looking forward to the end of what she sees as a painful life. But what Anna should have believed is that her world could become better right now. She should have hoped that she could become happy again in this life. This would have gone against everything she understood about having faith. It would have contradicted her beliefs about decisive love. But this is Kierkegaardian faith. Beyond any faculty of human reason, belief is belief. No wiggle room or cherry-picking the bits you like. But this faith can be viewed more accurately as a belief, almost at an absurd level, that anything is possible, even being happy again. But you should not search for this happiness in a place of your past, and you should not blindly accept some external thing just to be rid of the negative feelings of despair and anxiety. You must exercise complete faith in yourself, in your ability to shape your life in a new way, a way that reflects who you are now, not who you were then.